Good morning, beautiful people. I hope you are feeling alive and well this morning. We've got quite a bit of cloud overcast here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I have quite a hoarse voice from a lot of really loud singing yesterday. And I want to check in and say, I love everyone. I love the outpouring of support and care and the number of messages that have reached me, and open to any and more messages and questions that seem to be coming through. It is wonderful to create an opening and start to create dialogue out in the world again. I understand my approach is not the approach of many. I understand how I'm coming to find my art and my voice disturbs many. I understand. I'm not here to pretend anything else. This is a brand new experience for me as well. And if I could explain 2 minutes into the future what I was experiencing as I'm connecting with people and sharing new insights and expressing new ideas, I would do so. However, one of the things I'm coming to find is that regardless of what it is that I'm desiring to share, regardless of what the seed or nugget or knowledge is, I found consistently that if I say it gently, without any emotion, it gets scrolled past. If I say it with videos, memes, pictures and photos that look a lot like everybody else's, it gets clicked, but nobody's seeing the message. They're clicking the image. They go, oh, that looks nice, and they click and they go. And I don't see a lot of discussion. So I've been following for several years now, especially the last 18 months, as I spent over a year now working on building news software for news, tracking stories, tracking citations, using some new ways to apply science that come out of literally thermodynamics and engineering of how heat transfers, and applying that to how information and ideas transfer through both social networks, and once they reach us, our eyes, our ears, our nose, however we experience that message, that seems to have a bigger impact on what people can and cannot talk about next. And I myself have only come to study it in this way in the last couple of years. I have studied social media, influence, marketing, who buys, who doesn't, what gets clicked, what gets scrolled, what gets yelled at, what gets supported, and click repost. For many years I did that. For many years I asked others, and they've done it with me and for me professionally, through marketing for other companies, IT businesses I've had, all the way back to before I owned and operated a video game store with my first wife, which took over a year of planning and manually typing before any AI that could help do business plan research. I had to manually go to the library and get the books and request traffic counts throughout Kenosha to understand which corner we'd want to put the business on. And you see right now I'm talking a lot. I'm going into detail. It's legitimate detail. It's sound and consistent detail. It's sound and consistent detail about business processes, specific ways I've lived and experienced my life, and ways I've seen others live and experience theirs, and the impact it has on what can be discussed openly, what happens when people can discuss openly with radical acceptance of their own accountability, not just of what got done or didn't get done in a conversation, but who understood, who saw, and who brought observations to the dialogue that others were then able to use to better calibrate and understand with more clarity. That's an underlying principle and process I've used through ITIL, IT service management. I've asked others again in marketing that have helped me build these different approaches in advertising campaigns and media campaigns. I've asked them for different approaches and their suggestions on how we see, how we measure, how we share a new idea. And this is a continuation of, I will call it 49. I'm 49 in some number of months. I'm born February 15th, 1977. I'm almost 50, and I've not stopped asking myself since very young, what could we do as individuals so big and so different in the world that whenever, however, naturally, whenever, however, it's Michael's time, and and Michael passes on whenever. I'm 50. I think I've got quite a bit of time left. But whenever that happens, I've been trying to ask myself since I was a child, when that happens, what will Michael look back and say he did? What will Michael look back and say he tried? Will Michael be able to look back this time and say, it was still hard? Because it seems like it's been hard for a lot of people for a long time in a lot of ways. But is Michael going to be able to look back at some point and say, I never stopped trying for myself to learn and listen and hear differently in ways that change my understanding, not to be manipulated. And the same for Michael to say and do in ways out into the world with big ideas that I can explain quickly, like people tell big, long movie stories. I don't do fiction as well as I do. I observe things and I explain what I've observed and how I think others could do that recipe too, like making bread or making pasta. That's been Michael's art and craft, and that's what I'm keeping, so I'm trying to continue to perfect, because I've never felt that I had a way to share something that is me, something that I feel is a gift people have given to me, that people have given to me through their conversation when they told me, Michael, you said it this way, but I heard it that way. I went, that helps me understand where my message does and doesn't carry. Other people have told me, Michael, people told me this and I didn't believe it because I saw this and I saw this and I saw this. And I went, thank you, family, for explaining that to me too. Because now I also hear some things and I go look. And I look again. And some people have told me there's better ways to look called critical thinking. And I learned that early in my career. Active listening. I learned that early in my career. And I kept studying more ways to listen, more ways to tell my message. And that is what this journey is about. That is what my postings the last several days have been about. They have been loud. I have had a feeling of delivering this message, an experience that I've never had before. I've never had it painting. I've never had it kneading the bread. I've never had it pulling the pasta out of the boiling water. I've tried art in many different forms and modalities, and family of all shapes and sizes around the world. This is not an ongoing art for me. I don't think I'm becoming a professional singer anytime soon. Thank goodness others have a much better voice than Michael does. But for some reason, after 50 years of doing work and looking at things differently and trying to listen differently and explain new ideas, not that I've invented, but things I've looked at and discovered, this was how it came back out of me. And I'm so sorry that it caused fright or scare. I am. And I'm always, through my actions, I've been consistent. Please check and check again and check me again right now. I'm always open to honest conversation. And I will honestly share what I was thinking, what I saw, why I did something, and why I'm saying what I'm saying right now. I always will. And if you look at all my videos and all my source code and projects I've put out in the last couple of years, especially the last year and a half, I've said it this way. I think I found something new and very interesting. I think it's very powerful too for each individual that comes to understand it. And I think if I could learn to explain this new knowledge in a way that anybody could understand it, I believe every individual would look at their opportunities, would look at their lives past, present, and future, and I predict that they would come to understand this information in a way similar to what many others already say they do. And I predict if lots and lots of people find their inner peace, learn to discuss difficult topics in public again, even if it gets a little shaky, even if it gets a little loud like thunder, are we able to sit long enough in environments and spaces that are temporarily uncomfortable to sit and observe and find the understanding to say, why does the rain fall on this side of the mountain and not that side? Why does condensation go on a window sometimes, but not others? Why is the condensation on the inside of the window, and why is it frost on the outside? And what does it mean to observe what happens in your world, share it with your children and those around you, and then ask yourselves, what did I learn and understand from something as simple as condensation at a young age when it freezes and frosts? And why are people universally to draw letters and symbols and signs on a window once it does frost up one way or the other, whether it's frozen frost or condensation on the inside? Why do people laugh at certain things consistently? Why do they get angry at certain messages consistently? Michael is trying to learn and better understand. I am trying to learn and better understand why when I say things a certain way, people run. Why when I say things a certain way, people seem to sit and listen for a long time. And what is the gap in between? I love you all. I'm Michael Lewis Polzin. I'm a regenerative architect. I've worked a long, wide, deep career looking at things sometimes differently than what everybody else in the room was, and sometimes in some ways small and big. I believe I've made observations, and several others have as well. And I believe as we continue to share these in ways that are more comfortable for people to see our experience and understand what we've observed and how we've applied them in both life and business, and how we're trying to reapply new lessons now, I think we will all learn to discuss more openly, more honestly, not to check each other, and to be able to carry the facts with context and understanding that allows everyone to calibrate what is true in this world right now for them, what's important to all of us in a way that's together, and what are the small steps each individual can make, whether it's picking up a piece of trash or trying to bring new ways and ideas of software and information theory to the world after 50 years in the IT information field. Does it make sense to anybody that I'm trying to share back out observations that I didn't have time to share before, and they're not written down in notebooks that I could easily copy and paste and send to everybody? And sometimes when discoveries this large have happened, there hasn't been time to slow down and understand them because some other pain or pressure pushed us forward for a reason. And all I say is, let's not let things like war and sending our children off to war become the priority. Let's not let debt, taxation, and printing more money remain a priority over each individual being peaceful, each individual having understanding, every person having agency and critical thinking and their own Maslow of hierarchical needs met, so that their safety, whether they're a truck driver that has to look for a good, safe place to pull off on the road, or an IT executive that sometimes talks too much and too fast and scares people with his ideas, or a little dog that needs a way to learn to bark less without being yelled at, and a dog owner that's still trying to learn the lessons of when does volume cause people to bring their attention to you, and when does volume cause family to run away from you. I love you all. I see each of us are beautiful individuals with gifts, and for the first time in my life, I see ways that those gifts come to us from God. And I can't say who or what God is in all the ways. Nobody ever has before, and I'm not pretending that I can now. But I do think in other times, in other understandings, we've come to learn more about the universe that God created with and for us. How do I share that in ways that don't scare people? How do I share that in ways that people also understand that this makes me want to make changes in my life, and it makes me want to continue to share messages that are long and detailed. And I want to be able to discuss them with people like we used to do not that many years ago, or with the CB radio when we first started chatting online, and when we sat in big long meetings with whiteboards. I recall we broke down very big complex ideas together, and then we found the ways to work them from the vision, from the dream of the future, and we worked them backward to the steps we could take today to make them happen. And I would like to do this in a way now and forever that keeps the focus on the outcome, so that no matter who works with these nonprofits and organizations and businesses that I've been creating, that the culture is clear from the beginning. We never go to war or business as a way to extract something from someone else that doesn't first understand. We never aim to extract at all. And that when we ship things like complex technologies or new ideas, I say let's take the time to fully explain how it works and why, so that others can go through their process and gain their perspectives. I'm Michael, a regenerative architect. Thank you all for pushing back on me. Thank you all for loving me. Thank you all for caring enough to check what it is that I'm saying and why. That is the point, to be heard in a way that people understand. Take these ideas back apart, and we put them back together again with more durable understanding for each individual and everybody together. Have a wonderful rest of your day. I'm getting ready to meet my friend Debbie, and we're going off to get some food from one of the local churches here and talk to some more people and say hi and let them know that I and lots of people love them. And no matter how they might be in this world right now, I want them to know that there are people like me and others that are working to make it better, as I always have in many ways. Bye-bye. See you soon.